You arrive at the fishing village as night settles softly across the fjord, the last traces of twilight fading behind the mountain ridges. The water lies dark and still, its surface reflecting faint streaks of aurora drifting across the northern sky. Lantern light glows along the shoreline, small pools of warmth set against the cool blue tones of night. Wooden docks stretch quietly into the fjord, their posts worn smooth by tide and time. You walk slowly along one of the narrow planked paths, hearing the soft creak beneath each step, the sound absorbed quickly by the surrounding stillness. Boats rest beside the docks, their hulls rising and falling gently with the water's slow breathing. These are fishing vessels, smaller than longships, built for daily work rather than distant travel. Their wood is darkened by salt and weather, nets draped across their sides like folded cloth. Some nets hang from drying frames along the shore, swaying faintly in the night air. You pause beside one boat where rope lines are tied in careful knots. The rope fibers are thick, rough to the touch, coated lightly in tar to resist the sea's wear. Everything here carries the scent of salt water, of wet timber, of fish processed earlier in the day. Yet even these working smells are softened by night, muted by cool air and distance. Lanterns burn low near small storage huts, their light reflecting in trembling gold across the water's surface. Inside those huts, barrels hold the day's catch, preserved through salting or drying to sustain the village through winter months. But now, all labor has ended. The harbor rests. You hear only the quiet sounds that remain when work has passed. Water brushing hulls, rope shifting slightly against wood, the distant call of a night bird crossing the fjord. You walk farther along the dock, watching how each boat is secured carefully before nightfall. Knots double-tied, oars stored, nets folded and protected from wind. Fishing here follows rhythm rather than urgency. Boats leave at dawn, return by afternoon, their cycles guided by tide, season, and fish migration. Night is not for labor. Night is for rest, for repair, for quiet preparation before the next day begins. You look out across the fjord, where a few distant lanterns mark other villages along the shoreline. Each one mirrors this same stillness, boats sleeping on dark water beneath the aurora's slow drift. And as you stand within the harbor's calm, the world feels suspended between movement and rest, held gently in the quiet breathing of the northern sea. As you continue along the harbor's edge, the stillness of night reveals the quieter forms of labor that support fishing life. Work that happens not upon the water, but beside it. You approach a wooden frame standing just beyond the docks, its beams supporting long stretches of fishing nets hung carefully to dry. Even in the dim lantern light, you can see the complexity of their construction. Fine rope fibers are knotted into repeating patterns, each loop measured, each connection placed with patient precision. These nets are not easily made. They are built over many evenings, repaired more often than replaced. You imagine the daytime hours when families gather here, sitting along low benches near the frames, hands working steadily through the mesh. Children assist where they can, passing cord, holding tension, learning the patterns through repetition, long before mastering them. The damaged section is never ignored. Even the smallest tear could mean lost catch. lost food, lost trade goods, and so repair becomes ritual, knot by knot, loop by loop. The net is restored to strength. Tonight, the finished nets hang motionless, their damp fibers catching faint reflections from nearby lanterns. You walk farther along the shoreline, toward a low-roofed storage structure built close to the water's edge. Its heavy wooden door stands slightly open, allowing cool night air to circulate within. Inside, barrels are stacked in careful rows. Each is sealed with wooden lids, bound by iron hoops darkened with age. These hold the preserved catch of past days. Fish layered carefully in salt, stored to endure long winters when fresh food grows scarce. The preservation process itself is slow, methodical, requiring knowledge passed down through generations. Fish are cleaned beside the docks, their flesh prepared quickly after landing. Salt is applied in measured quantity, neither too little nor too much. Before the barrels are sealed and stored, you notice racks near the hut's outer wall, wooden frames where fish are hung to dry in colder months. The air moving through the harbor carries faint traces of this work, but softened now by night's cool stillness. Fishing villages are built upon preparation as much as harvest. Every successful voyage depends on what was mended, stored, or reinforced beforehand. You return toward the dock line, where several boats rest side by side in the dark water. Their construction reveals the same patient craftsmanship. Hull planks are fitted tightly, sealed with tar to resist the sea's slow intrusion. Wooden ribs curve upward from keel to rail, giving each vessel its strength against tide and current. Oars lie stacked neatly inside, their blades worn smooth from repeated use. You run your hand lightly along the edge of one hull, feeling the layered textures of timber grain and hardened pitch. Boat building here is rarely hurried. Repairs are made gradually, between fishing days, ensuring each vessel remains ready for the next departure. You notice small toolkits stored near the dock entrances, containing mallets, wedges, tar brushes, all left accessible should urgent repair be needed before dawn. Yet tonight, no work continues. Lanterns burn low, tools rest untouched, nets hang completed. The harbor breathes quietly between cycles of labor. You hear water moving gently beneath the boats, a slow, rhythmic sound, like breath against wood. In the distance, a figure walks briefly along another dock, checking moorings, ensuring ropes remain secure through the night tide. Even rest carries small responsibilities. Fishing life depends upon vigilance, but never urgency at this hour. As you stand among the resting vessels, watching lantern light ripple across dark water, you begin to sense how deeply the village's survival is tied to these quiet crafts. Nets woven patiently, boats repaired carefully, catch preserved thoughtfully. Every action supports the next voyage, the next dawn, the next season of sustenance drawn from the fjord. And now, with all preparations complete, the harbor holds only stillness, waiting gently for morning's return. As the harbor's working sounds fade into stillness, your attention drifts away from the docks, toward the homes that line the shoreline beyond them. The fishing village rests close to the water, longhouses and smaller timber dwellings built where land meets fjord. Lanterns glow softly within their windows, warm points of light set against the deep blue of night. You walk along a narrow path that follows the curve of the shore, hearing the faint crunch of frost beneath your steps. From within one open doorway, you glimpse the quiet interior of a fisher family's home. A hearth burns low at its center, casting warm light across wooden beams darkened by years of smoke. Fishing nets are draped along one wall, not for repair now, but simply drying in the warmth after the day's use. A pair of heavy boots rests near the entrance, their leather still damp from sea spray. Inside, the family has settled into evening calm. An older fisher sits near the hearth, hands resting after the long hours spent rowing and casting nets. Beside them, another family member folds wool blankets, preparing sleeping spaces along the raised platforms. Children sit nearby, their earlier energy softened by the steady rhythm of firelight. One traces shapes along the wooden floor with a small carved figure, guiding it slowly through imagined fjord waters. Another leans against a parent's shoulder, listening as quiet conversation drifts between adults. Their talk is not of hardship, nor urgency, but of tides, weather patterns, and the condition of nets and boats for the days ahead. Even here, work and family life remain gently intertwined. You continue along the shoreline, passing other homes where similar scenes unfold. Cooking pots hang cooling near hearths, the evening meal already shared. Wooden cups rest on low tables, their contents long finished. Outside one dwelling, fish racks stand silhouetted against the aurora-lit sky, empty now, waiting for the next day's catch. You pause near the water's edge once more. The fjord reflects the village lights in trembling gold patterns, disturbed only slightly by the slow movement of tide. A small rowing boat drifts gently at its mooring, its hull tapping softly against the dock post. From somewhere farther along the shore, you hear faint laughter, quickly softened by distance and night air. Fishing villages hold close-knit rhythms. Families depend upon one another, sharing labor, sharing preservation work, sharing the uncertainty and reward of the sea. Children grow within this environment, learning the sounds of water before they learn the sounds of distant travel. They fall asleep to rope creaks, to hull movements, to wind crossing the fjord's surface. These sounds become their lullabies. You look back once more toward the homes lining the harbor, their lanterns glowing steadily, their interiors warm against the cold outside air. Within them, families settle closer to hearths, voices lowering, bodies easing toward rest. The harbor may sleep, but its life continues gently within these wooden walls, carried by those who live beside the water season after season. And as the night deepens, shoreline homes glow quietly, guardians of warmth along the edge of the vast northern sea. As night deepens over the fishing village, the shoreline grows quieter still. Lanterns continue to glow within the homes behind you, but along the docks, light has begun to fade. Only a few lamps remain lit near storage huts and mooring posts, their reflections stretching across the dark water in slow trembling lines. You step once more onto the wooden planks of the harbor walkway. The boards cool beneath your feet, carrying the faint scent of salt and tar. Boats rest closely together now, their shapes reduced to silhouettes against the fjord's surface. where daylight once revealed rope coils and net textures. Night softens every detail. Hull edges blur into shadow. Masts dissolve into the darkness above. Yet the harbor is not silent. Water moves gently beneath the vessels, lifting them slightly, lowering them again in slow, patient rhythm. Ropes tighten and slacken with each movement, wooden posts answering with faint creaks. These sounds are soft, repetitive, steady enough to soothe rather than disturb. You pause beside a larger fishing boat, its hull broader than the others, built for deeper fjord routes where catches run heavier. A lantern hangs near its bow, burning low, its flame shielded by a glass cover fogged faintly by sea air. Inside the boat, oars are stacked neatly, nets folded, tools secured to prevent shifting during the night tide. Everything has been prepared for morning departure, though that moment lies many hours away. You notice how carefully each vessel has been tied. Knots looped twice, ropes threaded through worn wood rings, secured not only against drifting, but against the slow pull of changing tide levels. Fishing life depends on foresight, even in rest. Further along the dock, you see a narrow gangway leading to a boat left slightly apart from the others. Its owner has covered part of the deck with stretched cloth, protecting supplies stored beneath. Barrels rest there, likely filled with preserved fish or salted provisions ready for trade. The cloth cover shifts faintly as wind brushes across the fjord. A small movement within the otherwise still harbor. You lean lightly against one of the mooring posts, looking out across the water. The fjord stretches wide and dark, mountain silhouettes rising on both sides like quiet sentinels. Far across the distance, you can see the faint glow of another shoreline settlement. Its harbor mirrors this one. Boats at rest, lamps dim, life paused between tides. Above, clouds have thinned, revealing more of the star-filled sky. The aurora begins to return, soft green light unfurling slowly across the darkness. It reflects faintly in the water below, blending with lantern glow and star shimmer. The harbor feels suspended in time. No voices carry across the docks. No tools strike wood. No nets are lifted or cast. Only water, rope, wood, and wind remain awake. You breathe in the cold sea air, carrying hints of salt and drying timber. This is the harbor's resting state, the quiet interval between cycles of labor, where preparation has ended, and dawn's return is still distant. Behind you, homes grow dimmer as families settle into sleep. Before you, boats drift gently in place, waiting, ready, held in the calm embrace of the northern fjord night. As the night settles fully across the fishing village, the last lanterns along the harbor begin to dim. One by one, their flames lower, until only faint points of gold remain along the shoreline. You step away from the docks, onto the frost-touched earth that borders the fjord. Behind you, boats drift quietly in their moorings, their shapes barely visible now against the dark water. Ropes creak softly. Wood answers in low, familiar tones, the harbor speaking its night language. From the homes lining the shore, light fades behind shuttered openings. Families have settled into sleep, their hearths burning low within timber walls, warmed by the day's labor. Children dream beside parents, lulled by the sounds that define fishing life. Water brushing hulls, wind moving through rope lines, the distant call of seabirds crossing the fjord in darkness. You walk slowly toward the water's edge, where small stones meet the gentle tide. The fjord lies calm, its surface reflecting the sky like darkened glass. Above, the aurora unfurls once more. Green light drifts across the stars, soft, unhurried, casting faint reflections across the sleeping harbor below. It moves over the boats, over the empty docks, over the nets hanging still upon their drying frames. It moves over the shoreline homes, where fishing families rest, their work complete, their vessels waiting for dawn's return. The air is cool, carrying the scent of salt water and distant timber smoke. Wind passes lightly across the fjord, never sharp, only present, a steady companion to the quiet. You remain here a while, watching the slow breathing of the harbor at rest. No voices carry across the docks now. No tools strike wood. No nets are cast into water. Only the natural rhythms remain. The rise and fall of tide, the soft shift of rope, the distant hush of waves meeting shore. Fishing villages live by cycles, but night belongs to stillness. Boats sleep upon the water. Families sleep within warm walls. The fjord itself resting between movements of life. Above, the aurora continues its silent passage, a watchful light that has drifted over countless harbors before this one. Generations have lived and slept beneath it, their livelihoods drawn from the same waters, their nights held in the same quiet calm. You breathe in the stillness, listening to the fjord's gentle lullaby. And as the lights fade completely along the shore, as even the last lantern ember dims, the fishing village settles into full rest, held by water, by sky, by the enduring rhythm of the northern sea.